some more style points just because Banana's been playing pretty sick lately. But they're still not the flashiest team in general, that's for sure. So
they seem pretty consistent, though.
They're stable, they're consistent, and they're definitely capable of taking down IG. Even if IG was in their prime, I'd still say Tongfu have the tools to take a game off of them. Now, to beat them consistently, probably not. But it's a best-of-2 format, and, well, we've introduced the teams, Merlini. We've talked a little bit about them. What's your predictions for today's game?
Well, IG used to be considered like unstoppable, at least prior in 2013. But recently, they've, taken a mighty fall, I must say, and dropping games that that no one expected them to, like in G League, they had a very poor performance. So I think Tongfu, relatively stable, consistent team. I think they definitely can take this. I won't predict a 2-0 victory for them. I'll just say 1-1.
I'm gonna go big or go home. It's 2-0 for IG. I think IG's on the rise. I think they're gonna show it today. I'm calling it 2-0 for them. So that means you should definitely bet your rares on Tongfu because I've jinxed them. The BTS jinx has been strong, at least when I'm betting. If Blitz bets on them, then maybe you'll have a bit of a conflict. Speaking of Blitz, let's introduce our casters, Purge and Blitz, see what they think about today's match.
I'm pretty excited to watch the game. Tongfu took a 2-0 versus Navi yesterday. IG's been looking pretty good as well, so I think this is going to be a pretty fair matchup.
Yeah, overall, I think this is a really good matchup between two really good teams that have done fairly decently, so I don't know how excited I am. We'll see how the games go.
Just saying you're not excited to be here? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just going to try to be a little more even and reasonable, but Tongfu absolutely destroying Navi, the game that we saw. Actually, I think we casted that, right?
I believe so.
The Tongfu Navi games. And IG, I didn't actually have the pleasure of casting them yet. I'm pretty sure. Wait.
They're 3-1 though, so they're doing really well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They have the least losses out of any other team that's in Group B at the moment. So if they can take this 2-0, I think it was said they win the group, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that.
Out, they'll be 7-1, and nobody can be 7-1 besides IG.
Okay. So, and IG can definitely do that too with the way that they've been playing. And they're a really good team in general. I mean, I thought they would do a little worse, to be honest, but don't bet against IG. And I think they could have won too against that game that they did lose against was it Orange?
I think it was Orange.
Yeah, the second game they won against Orange. Orange just kind of pressured them all over the map.
So what do you say for predictions?
Putting me on the spot. Okay. If I have
and of course no wishy-washiness.
No,
so we have to pick
1-1s. We have to pick
2-0s.
2-0s in this studio. There's no 1-1ing here.
Ben 1-1 Woo.
Ben 1-1 Woo. It's a really good nickname for him.
It's the alternate number to release to reach the Merlini police.
I'll say 2-0 Tongfu. Actually.
Wow, I was going to say 2-0 IG, though I think
that's a safe bet.
If I was doing the actual rules, I would do 1-1, I guess. But that's again cop out, major cop out. So I'm going to go with IG. I think IG is the better chance to win this. So let's hop into the game, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Of course, this is Beyond the Summit's coverage of the Alienware Cup, and this is day number 3 of Group E.
Yes, and IG, they're going to ban out the Batrider. They're the second pick, and Tongfu leading with the Lifestealer and the Nyx ban. I saw a tweet by God saying, "Why do teams keep giving YYF Lifestealer?" And I really agree with that because even though they lost, that guy dominates with that hero. I think it's his best hero overall.
Yeah, it's interesting. They just put him kind of in the off lane in a 3 position, and sometimes the supports are there and sometimes they're not. And the hero's really hard to kill. You can use Rage to go Magic Immune. Even if it's only at level 1, it's enough duration where you can escape pretty easily. And then they just max open wounds relatively fast, and at that point you have a decent disable and gives you a lot of lifesteal, which is kind of fun sometimes. But mainly, I mean, he's just really tough to kill and can farm up decently.
Yeah, and I rarely see him mess up on that hero. And he's the one that actually does that Sanjin Yasha build so often. I see him get that all the time.
Last night he went Sanjin Yasha into Heaven's Halberd, which is interesting. I assume this is a waste because I was like, why not just disassemble and make one into the Halberd and have a Yasha left over? But apparently the mains do actually stack, so it's kind of cool. A lot of bonus strength and some slow chance, and it reduces attack speed as well, I believe. So it's actually kind of a nice anti-carry tool, kind of similar to a Basher, while still giving him good survivability.
Yeah, and for Invictus Gaming, the second ban is going to be the Alchemist. That's a hero that we've seen quite a bit lately. We saw Zenith, I believe, use it to great effect against Navi, where they had like the 9-minute Battle Fury treads on Yamate. And so that's one of those heroes that just kind of snowballs into control. But I mean, it just kind of has seen such a rise in terms of people playing it. And it's always one of those heroes too. Every time I see it get behind, people always seem to be able to catch up eventually, just because of the Grievel's Greed, the mechanic behind that.
Yeah, we saw quite a few games like that so far, actually. One of which I believe it was Orange or something. Some Orange was insanely far behind, like 4 deaths on Alchemist in the mid lane.
It's actually against Tongfu.
And he ended up carrying. So a little bit of bad blood there between that hero and Tongfu. But they're going to first pick the Visage. Invictus Gaming gets to start off with the Darkseer and a Gyrocopter, so a lot of good AoE for them. They have a great offlane hero and a hero that Zhou is going to be very capable of playing.
Yes, Gyro is one of those heroes we saw the Chinese have just kind of flocked to. It actually seems, in some ways, the West, because of the amount of tournaments and games that we have to play, we kind of give the East a bit of insight as well into heroes and picks, I feel. Like, I don't think it's just, you know, everybody does what the Chinese do.
Yeah.
And Gyrocopter, I was about to say Gyro's a copter that...
He is.
Gyrocopter is one of those heroes that definitely was more popular in the West before it started to see its rise in the East. And now they've taken to it so much. I mean, it's a first 2 pick every single time.
Yeah, the magic nuke that he has is just so good, and that's pretty common with any carry that can actually teamfight early without needing a lot of farm. So some of the more greedy, really hard carry heroes that are played often are like Anti-Mage and Faceless Void, but we don't see those as often. And really, around the time of TI2, we started seeing heroes that could contribute early, like Morphling with Waveform, or even Luna, for example, is really good at level 6. People are really favoring those heroes that actually have some nuke on their carry so that they can team fight if they need to in the early game. And Gyrocopter is definitely an example of that with Rocket Barrage as well as Caldon.
Yeah, and Tongfu gonna pick up that Dragon Knight. I absolutely love that hero lately. With his ultimate, it's kind of like a mini Roar, as we've said before. The range on the initiation is so long. The stun lasts forever. The Breathe Fire is a great nuke for pushing, defending. It clears creep waves really easily, gives you good lane control, and most importantly, you get to push towers for free, essentially. It has a mechanic that allows you to do 100 damage to a tower every single time, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yep, he's really great hero at the moment. Hard to kill as well. I mean, he doesn't have an escape, but he's got naturally high armor, so trading hits with him for any typical mid hero is not going to be super easy. So, and there are a lot of heroes that actually played in the pool that have a lot of minus armor right now, like Acid Spray and things like that. Medallions are pretty popular in Visage. We even saw, who was the team doing this? I believe it was Orange. Whenever they pick Tree, they would always put a medallion on him as well, so having extra armor can be really helpful.
Yes. And we've seen that Dragon Knight build too, where you go Breathe Fire, and instead of getting the stun at level 2, you play a little greedier, and you got the Dragon's Blood. Just so you have the HP regen in the lane. It's actually quite significant too. It's 2 free HP regen, and 3 armor, which is fantastic.
That's like a free Ring of Basilius and Ring of Regen, without the mana regen, of course.
Yes. So, in response, IG gonna ban out that Clockwork. So both teams right now, they have Tongfu has a support, an aggressive support, and they have their mid hero, because Dragon Knight is naturally going to go mid. And for IG, we've got the Gyrocopter, who should be the safe lane carry, and Darkseer, who should be the off lane for IG.
So Invictus Gaming is apparently not very scared of the enemy's carry heroes, because they're just banning out supports in the long laners. So is it going to be an anti-mage? Is it going to be some nuke hero? Who knows? I find Visage is pretty good against Gyrocopter. I feel like I've seen so many times Soul Assumption just flying through and bursting him down for this last bit of HP, because it does give you a really good ganking support combo. Shadow Demon's still in the pool, by the way. He has not been banned yet, which is a little surprising. He can combo with Visage, not the best, but it works. But if they grab another really aggressive support hero to combo with the Visage, we could see a lot of roaming against Zhou to try to shut him down in the early game.
Yes, and Enchantress going to be picked up for IG, actually. And a Weaver right off the bat.
Interesting.
So that might end up being Tongfu's long lane hero, or maybe they even decide to aggressive tri-lane with something like the Weaver and the Visage.
Yeah, they
and pair it with a stun.
The nice thing about Weaver in this matchup is Invictus Gaming doesn't currently have any stuns, other than the homing missile, but Weaver can easily dodge that by going invisible. So it's going to be really hard for Weaver to get killed at the moment. They still have 2 picks left over, and there's not many bans left on Tongfu, so there's a pretty good chance that they can draft heroes that are going to make them look better. And this happened last night, actually, when Na'Vi ended up playing against, was it Tongfu, possibly? Where Dendi picked up a Storm Spirit because they were low in disables, and then the last 2 picks just really cemented the counters in, and it was enough to be able to counter the hero. So maybe we'll see enough stuns come out of Invictus Gaming for the last 2 picks here.
Yeah. And Gyrocopter, actually, most don't actually even level that homing missile at all.
Yeah, 1 level tops.
I haven't seen 1 level is even rare at that, just because it does so little damage, and it doesn't really do a whole lot. And the stats you gain are a lot more important, just because Gyro's a hero that actually has really low HP, and so getting any extra stats that you can, always a plus.
Yep, Templar Assassin picked up by IG now. Templar Assassin A pretty strong mid-control hero. He works out quite nice against Dragon Knight. We saw the matchup last night when Navi played against Tongfu. The downside for that was that Dendi ended up getting ganked a lot by an Enchantress. There was a lot of roaming on him mid, so despite him beating the Dragon Knight in CS, he ended up dying quite a few times. I believe he went 0-3 in the early laning stage, so not the best example of a TA versus Dragon Knight matchup, but if they can last it anywhere near as well as Dendi, then the TA should have a last hit advantage, though Dragon Knight will be able to push runes a little bit better.
And I think Tongfu might actually offensive tri-lane with the Windrunner and the Visage, and put the Weaver against the solo Darkseer. That actually wouldn't be too bad. Just because you're a range hero against Iron Shell, you don't have to actually get that close. And IG's lineup, it seems pretty well rounded, but they are lacking quite a bit of disables, and they have to deal with a hero like Weaver, who goes in and out of fights. You know, he just flits around, and Windrunner, who with the Windrun, it makes it really difficult for her to kill without any stuns or disables.
Yeah, and they still haven't grabbed a stun yet. They've still just got Homing Missile and Vacuum and whatever Enchantress is working with, so man, it might be a really weird game here for Invictus Gaming. Unless they snowball in the early game, then it doesn't matter much. Their team fights can be good once they actually get there, and they can also pressure early towers with Enchantress. So they have a lot of stuff that they can do in this game potentially.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see Ferrari's Templar Assassin. That's
really
the hero
good
that he absolutely dominated with at TI2. Shout out to Bulba. He's gonna hate me for saying that, but I know he's watching. So when he had to play that Invoker matchup against TA, and
that is not a fair matchup.
yeah,
though.
I know he's like saying like, dude, you can't even do that, but because I know how Bulba sounds, but just a little bit of a tease. We're good friends, so.
Yeah, Templar Assassin can easily beat an Invoker in last hits in the early game.
Yeah.
So,
but TA in general, with the Refract, it makes it really difficult for her to get harassed, and it gives you a free harass and deny mechanic as well, since Refract doesn't waste any deny charges,
yeah.
as some of you may know. And a Sand King going to be picked up, and that's the first major stun that we see by IG. But it's a greedy one too, just because you need levels on him.
Yeah, we've been seeing a crapload of Sand King the last couple days, and we've been talking about this a lot, about how weak of a support he is if he doesn't have levels. It's absolutely true. But if he can get a couple levels up, he is by far one of the best ganking support heroes, in my opinion. The stun duration is 2.17 seconds. It does fairly good nuke damage, and he's fairly evasive as well. So if he can get the first couple levels in, it is actually pretty scary to face, because just having that reliable stun is better than heroes like Vengeful Spirit or Crystal Maiden ganking. And a lot of the times, Orange, they were super talented at ganking yesterday. They really made the hero work and look good, honestly. So I'm feeling better about Sand King than I was the last couple days.
Yes. So I will introduce Tongfu's lineup. We've got King J going to be playing Windrunner. San Sheng, he's going to be playing the Visage. Banana, oh god, I'm in love with that guy. He's going to be playing the Crystal Maiden. Moo's going to be on the Dragon Knight. And rounding out Tongfu, we've got Hao playing the Weaver.
So that is Team Tongfu. I believe they're currently 2-2 in the groups. They are up against IG right now, 3-1 in the groups. IG's Faith is going to be playing the Sand King. We've got 6th, also known as Chuan, playing Enchantress. I saw in chat, by the way, DPM said that he's not going to change his name back to Chuan until they win a championship or something like that.
Why is his name 6th?
That's why. I don't know.
Because they got 6th or something?
I don't know. Maybe it's like some weird tag and like hard work. Road to TI3.
Is it one of those like I'm not gonna shave my beard until we win something?
Yeah,
kind of
except
things?
he's changing his tag. It's probably just a really lame excuse to change his tag. Be it like it's about hard work, but really it's just he wants to just.
I don't know,
Dota
man.
players really like changing their tags.
I know that more than anybody, but
yeah. All right, let's go do the rest of the lineup. YYF is playing Darkseer. We've got Zhou on the Gyrocopter, and last player is going to be Ferrari playing the Templar Assassin. So most likely going to be a TA on the mid lane, off lane Darkseer, and then a Gyrocopter Sand King dual lane, pulling Sand King to get him some levels, and then possibly ganking jungling Enchantress, which could be very good. Windrunner is definitely a hero that can get shut down against this kind of setup.
yeah. And for Tongfu, I'd imagine they might even offensive tri lane here, and then stick the Weaver at the short lane, and then put Moo in the mid. But I also wouldn't be surprised, just because King J plays that off lane so well, if he's just kind of sent up there to die. But it feels like it'd be kind of a waste of potential. Maybe even put the Weaver in the tri lane. But looks like he might be going to the short lane. Yeah, and he's going to pick up a salve.
Goes for the double tango, 1 salve build. He is expecting to take some Iron Shell harass, so it's always good to grab a little extra regen here. He can make a Basilius on the side lane, pump up his damage by about 6, and at that point he should be able to outlast hit the Darkseer. And that, wow, look at the lanes right now. It looks like IG is expecting Tongfu to dodge, I guess. I don't think they want to go aggressive with Gyrocopter. I guess they could, because they do have an Enchantress, so that they could get some early ganks off, but it's going to be interesting. In the meantime, Tongfu is now pressuring for the Radiant jungle. IG does look like they're committing to an offensive tri-lane here. Do you think this is the right choice?
It's a little scary putting the Enchantress like that, but maybe they anticipate the Weaver being the solo bottom, and actually just trying to dodge that
The tri-lane.
the offensive tri-lane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, that'd be quite good. But it's going to be quite difficult for Faith to actually pick up levels here for free.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be off pulling somewhere, but that might not be the case. In the meantime, yeah, Darkster's sitting on the top lane. He's going to be up against Windrunner, I guess. Windrunner or Visage maybe is a possibility, because Visage is still going to the top lane. And I guess it is an aggressive tri-lane, so it's a Windrunner, CM, Visage, aggressive tri-lane coming out of Tongfu. Not something we expected, and that's going to mean a solo Weaver on the bot lane. This is actually okay for IG. I think they have pretty similar attack ranges. They're going to have sentries as well, and this isn't too bad. If there were actually supports in the bot lane, I would be way more worried for IG here.
Yeah, and Banana actually waiting by the haste rune. Maybe try to set something up. YYF is actually going to be quite safe, though, by that tower, and he should be able to actually do the jungle camps as well, so
Yeah.
quite difficult for him to die.
And Chuan about to start off the jungle as well. He has the smoke, so he can go gank the enemy mid if needed. Again, Dragon Knight's armor is pretty darn high, so it's going to be hard to pick off that kill. But Ferrari actually going a little extra on item builds. He grabs an extra salve on the mid lane. This has pulled him. Actually, both regen items pulled to him on the mid lane. So he's going to get a really, really fast bottle here. Gank comes in,
mid
though.
on Ferrari.
There's Frostbite falling things off. Soul Assumption gets thrown down, but the Refraction comes off cooldown, and he will end up surviving really close, actually. He pops a
But the
salve.
salve's going to get broken.
Wow, he didn't think that extra attack would come, and that's going to cost him a ton of HP. That's like a 300 damage auto attack that CM just threw out. And a big greedy mistake there from TA puts him at low HP, and that means that she can actually just sit mid and force him out of CS range. He does have his bottle at least, so it's not the end of the lane for him, but a little bit of a loss there.
And maybe opting to actually dual lane mid against Ferrari, at least until Moo can kind of even out, get his bottle, and just kind of shut her down early. And Ferrari going to get frostbitten, then run back, and that's all of the refraction charges. But at the same time, she should have her bottle right now. And in response, Enchantress is going to send this Harpy, which I know that you're obsessed
she found
with.
a Harpy. Oh my gosh.
I know you love the Harpy.
It's one of the best jungle creeps, especially as an Enchantress. It's by far the best creep you can pick up, and that's because it costs 50 mana. You can cast this 10 times, and it does 105 damage after reduction. Watch this. Every single time comes CM, unless she gets the Frostbite off, and now it is 100% dead.
Deny it.
That is
Oh,
one
and she
support
doesn't get
hero.
the deny.
That is one support hero that just hard counters the Harpy harass, but really, really lucky that they had a CM for this. Or maybe on purpose, who knows. But the Harpy normally can just do an insane amount of damage.
And King J actually going to be soling up here against YYF, and he's actually doing really well. YYF known for being able to exploit that 1v1 matchup just with his individual skill. But King J holding his own and some, going 11-6 in last hits right now against YYF's 8-0. And actually, this bottom lane, Faith, it's going to be spotted out. But it looks like Banana's actually going to be able to still get the pull off through.
Yeah, the CM has actually picked up her level of Arcane Aura, but that's because she ran out of Clarity Potions and she drastically needed mana, so 1 point in this is going to give her an extra 2 mana per second, and that's also going to apply towards a lot of core heroes. Most importantly, Windrunner is going to definitely need mana. With more mana means more power shots, and also Weaver on the bot lane. Same goes for Sakuchi. You can use this ability very, very often to do damage and harass, and now he's got extra mana pool, so the CM Aura is definitely going to pay off in those 2 1v1 matchups, and even Dragon Knight, same thing. Like, this is something we used to see a long time ago, like a couple years ago when CM was all the rage. She would go 1 Nova, 1 Bite, and then she would max Aura, just because the extra mana for all of her lanes would ideally help them win those.
Yeah, and lane's actually going to be swapped here. Gyrocopter going to TP top, so that's going to cost him some time and money. And YYF, he's actually level 4, so he's just going to do fine in the jungle. And meanwhile, Chuan's going to free farm in the jungle as well, sending creeps periodically to help Ferrari out, even out the matchup, and maybe give him an advantage. And Faith going to rotate top. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to pull. The creeps just did die. And he's only actually level 2, so doing quite poor right now.
Yeah, he got a little experience from the regular lane, but it's not looking the best for him. He doesn't have boots just yet. Joe is now in position as his Faith, so they will get the neutrals. They're actually missing some of these, but it's going to be a much harder lane now for King J, but he already does have level 4, so he's honestly not doing that bad.
Yeah, and Moo being harassed really hard by that Wild Wing Ripper. Just kind of right-clicked him on top of that, and he actually tried to stun it by the tower, but unable to get the kill. But Moo's doing about as well as you'd expect a Dragon Knight to do mid against a Templar Assassin.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's at 13. I mean, compare this to the 18 of the Templar Assassin. Ferrari will be able to pick up the Illusion Rune on the top lane. And going back to the mid lane, he's going to be just fine. So it looks like we will see some roam to the top lane. This is a Smoke Ink on Crystal Maiden. She also has Crystal Nova, so the initiation range is pretty good. They'll have a Grave Chill follow-up, and this could definitely be Zhou's death. We'll see. Level 3 into Power Shot. Here comes the first disable. Will we see it? There's the Nova. Just need the Frostbite, and that is going to be a dead Gyro. He's going to buy a TP scroll. Oh, man, the Crystal Maiden's getting blocked. He's going to be able to escape. Power Shot keeps him alive. At 58 HP, not enough to get him killed. CM was too slow there, and unfortunately, they didn't have a Shackle to get any mini stun, and CM, mega slow hero, can't get the Frostbite off. If they Frostbit him, he was 100% dead.
I don't know. I think Sansheng could have thrown that Soul Assumption, though, a bit earlier, and they would have been able to pick up that kill. But
yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it does only do 20 damage at base, but if he got at least one level of soul damage and he would have thrown that out, he could have gotten the kill, absolutely. So we'll see if Frostbite on the Hellbear Smasher. They're going to try to last hit this. We'll see if it denies. Oh, great Power Shot to guarantee they get the XP. And Chuan can definitely pressure this, man. Enchantress is so good in the early game. Even these creeps do piercing damage, so they're not very good versus heroes. But the amount of disables you get out of it, and as well as HP, makes you really a huge threat.
Yeah. And CM actually, with her 280 move speed, needs boots just to be able to do anything. And it's going to be difficult to gank for King J's lane. He went for this Windrun build, which I actually like, especially if you're going to long lane, but it makes it difficult for your supports to gank for you, because you can't straight away initiate.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It gives you the extra 0.75 seconds of evasion. You also get an extra 8% slow upon your opponents, but the one level of Shackle Shot, when you often use it, it costs you 90 mana, and it's a very small stun duration, 1.5 seconds. It is going to hurt your Shackle being maxed out earlier, but it is a lot more evasive. So.
And how actually, being forced out, YYF actually has 32 CS right now, leading the game. Although it is kind of skewed because he has neutral creeps, but...
Yeah, this is a pretty good trick to do when you're playing a Dark Surge, just kind of pulling the creep wave from the bot lane and pulling it into the jungle in a place where you're pretty safe. And now Weaver has to last it under tower. It's not horrible for him because he does have Geminate, but it's not something he would like to do. He'd rather just be CSing in lane. And while that happens, YYF clears the lane really fast, and that buys him time to go to the jungle. And this really makes Darkseer by far one of the fastest leveling and gold farming solo heroes in the game, just because he can do this. Mix between the lane creeps as well as the jungle.
Yeah, and he's been untouched at bottom, although Hao's going to be able to right-click him out, and I think YYF's going to have to pop the speed here.
This could be a little bad for him. Here comes the bugs. Will Hao continue the chase? He's got a Sakuchi in 1 second. Salve is popped, actually. Very, very wise there. And that actually does heal through the bugs. If he didn't press that Salve, I think it could have maybe been a Weaver kill. And Hao was at least able to force him out of the lane, so pretty good attempt there.
He would have lost a lot of time farming, though.
Yeah.
And he would have also been in a really weird, precarious situation where he would have been behind 2 towers, but... it would have been kind of close, I think. Maybe he could have gotten the kill. He would have at least needed to chase for 2 more Shikuchis. But opting not to do that just because it does push the lane out. You're not able to farm or deny anything. So opting to go back to farm. And he's actually doing quite well for himself. He's got 35, sitting right behind YYF, who comes right back to the bottom with the Buckler.
That's going to help a lot, actually. It gives him +7 armor, basically. 5 armor from the Buckler itself, and then you can activate it for an extra +2. And when Weaver does almost all physical damage in the early game, not exactly true because Sakuchi does do magic, but even still, the Geminate right click is going to be drastically reduced by it.
Yeah, and Dragon Knight doing quite well for himself in this middle lane against Ferrari, just with the help of this Crystal Maiden. But Ferrari, unable to really get anything started yet. And the thing for me is, who is he going to gank?
Windrunner has tons of evasion. The Sakuchi from Weaver.
Oh, in middle, actually, Moo's going to get jumped on.
Oh, the initiation comes. Faith has already stunned. We did see that as well. A couple more right clicks. He pops the magic wand. Actually, now bottling. Great breathe fire, and Sand King's going to go down. They're turning it around. Both teams were geared up there. 2 smoke supports. They were ready for that fight. Banana taking right clicks now. He's not going to be killed at all, but really nice fight there. They dove really hard in Dragon Knight, but that's a perfect example of the hero. He's got a magic wand already. He even had a belt of strength, and all of this bonus armor just made him so difficult to kill.
Yeah, and actually the stun going to go on Ferrari. He pops the wand and the haste. Should be just fine.
Wow, took a lot of damage though. There's another slow Faith looking for the Burrow Strike. Will he die this time? Another Burrow Strike comes in. Wow, TA goes down actually. Not what IG wants, and Faith eating another stun. That's going to be 2 kills on the mid lane. IG trying to snag kills themselves, but they keep going on the Dragonite. This guy is hard to
kill. Zhou's going to pop down to the Windrunner, who actually lands a Shackle and the Power Shot combination, and that's another kill. 4-0 right now for Tongfu. Better rotation, more patient play, and the counter initiation of Crystal Maiden and the Visage is just doing wonders for them.
Yeah, those supports have so much damage. Really, all IG was working with. They are mostly a disable heavy. At least their gankers are disable heavy, but they don't really have the damage to combo with that. Like, Burrow Strike is a great damage and disabling spell, but Enchantress ganking pre-level 6, she doesn't do that much damage. She just has a decent slow from whatever creep or disable she has, and that's pretty much it. TA does some damage output, but again, Dragon Knight hard counters that with all this armor.
Yeah, and the bad thing about this too is that IG support should naturally have more levels just because they have a jungler who's been dedicated jungling. But because of what just happened, Crystal Maiden and Visage just spiked right back up, able to catch up, and that's not exactly what you want to see, especially with the dedicated jungler. That was the first time Chuan actually came out to gank and unable to accomplish too much. In fact, getting his teammates actually just killed.
Yeah.
Not that it was, you know, his fault or anything like that, but they had to take a risk like that. And Moo did the smart thing there too, where he stunned Ferrari because he knows he's the damage source, and then able to get away just fine.
Yeah, that's a really good point there. Throw the stun on the TA. They got nothing else left over. A little meld strike and right click, but he needs really like 4 or 5 hits to score anything. King J looks like he's going to die in the top lane. Faith able to get the right click here after a burrow strike. Looks good for them. Level 7 on Gyrocopter now, and he's going to push the lane with his Ring of Basilius. That is going to shoot up some of the net worth here for IG. Darkseer actually in a lot of trouble bot. He's getting ganked. There's a vacuum running for his life, but more right clicks, and How's going to snag this kill. He turns on the buckler. Oh man, he's still alive.
He might
Pops
actually
into
live.
the bottle charge. He's got a surge in 2 seconds. Soul Assumption's going to clean him up though. Big damage once again from the Visage, and most importantly, made better by the fact that Crystal Maiden has 2 levels of aura, so this guy's got plenty of mana this game. And now an Arcane Boots, because he has got 4 kills. He's got half as many kills as he has CS.
He's actually done quite well in that department, just because the nuke is so good at last hitting. Not that he wants to take the last hits or anything like that, but Hal's going to be just satisfied with that, being able to get some free farm during this meantime. And Darkseer goes down about 700 gold from his mech. King J opting actually, I thought he was going to get something different, but he's actually going to mech as well. But he's only at the headdress, but he does have phase boots and magic stick. Meanwhile in mid, Moo's just going to be pushing in. He has the illusion rune, pops the ultimate, and Ferrari actually just kind of turns back around. And the illusions are going to have the dragon form effect as well.
Yeah, it's really fun to do these. The poison damage does not stack here, but you can reset the cooldown. And he can just do little things like that. One of his illusions will occasionally attack the tower, or they'll occasionally attack a hero. I wish he was being a little bit more spreading of this. He's not putting any of the poison damage on any of the heroes, which I wish he was. Like, put one on Ferrari, break his refraction, put some on Sand King, for example, put some on the tower. He could have just kept his dots up for like 3 seconds there if he needed to.
Yeah, and actually going to be forced back by the appearance of Faith, who is actually level 6. I've seen Sand Kings do this build more and more often, where they get the stats. They only get 1 level of the Sandstorm, and instead of getting the Caustic Finale, which doesn't actually help them too much in the early game, they opt to pick up a level of stats, because what is that extra level of Sandstorm really going to do for you?
Yeah, I think it's the right choice, honestly. It gives you, what, 26 mana, it gives you 38 HP. Faith is going to cover a DD rune on the top lane. Should be seeing Ferrari picking this up. Great rune for a TA. Both Haste and DD are really strong.
YYF took some damage. Gonna have to run back soon, but he should have mech in about a minute or so. Maybe that's the cue for IG to start 5-manning.
Well, if they do get the 250 HP heal, what is Enchantress farming? She's just going for tread, so she'll have a bit of a damage source here and some heal. Faith has his epicenter now. Ferrari is level 8. He's got treads. He's got a DD. They could push off of this, honestly. Gyrocopter's a little low in HP, so maybe they would get bursted down fairly easily, but the mech advantage that they have right now is pretty big.
For a second, I thought Crystal Maiden had a Wraith ban, because I saw the chicken fly over her. I was like, that makes no sense. That'd be the craziest thing I've ever seen.
What was it?
What? No, she just got a smoke instead, but...
Where was the Wraith ban going? Bot lane?
I guess.
It was an Aquila for Weaver. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me right now. I was like, wow, why is she
Drunk?
getting... I was just about to, like, explain to the viewers, like, why would she get a Wraith ban? It's like, I need to formulate reasoning for this.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Interesting skill build from Hal, by the way. He's doing a little Geminate and actually a lot of Swarm. Looks like he'll be maxing that out next.
I think he anticipates the team fight coming a bit earlier. And so just in case that does happen, that's what Swarm's more useful for, whereas Geminate attack is just better overall in a one-on-one situation.
Yeah, it is really good for team fights, especially on little support heroes that don't necessarily have good attack speed. You can force them into a decision. You say, okay, well, you either stand there and attack the bugs, or you're in trouble. How's going to be diving a bit, though. There's the bugs on a Ferrari. Do they have a sentry down? It looks like it's placed. Soul Assumption. Breathe Fire goes down. He's solo, but can Chuan make the plays? He turns on the heals. They're turning things around. Epicenter gets finished from Faith now and chasing after Moo. 3 dead heroes. They do end up losing Sand King, but who cares off of a dive like that? That was some sick plays from IG and some desperately needed kills.
Yeah, the Ion Shelled Sand King, popping his stun and getting the ultimate off just did way too much damage. And 2 squishy heroes, And the Dragon Knight not able to survive. Faith is picked off, but I think IG is more than willing to take that trade. They managed to save the tower, and they're going to put some damage on mid themselves. But Crystal Maiden going to TP right back here. Ferrari does have a DD, though.
You might get Frostbite here. Crystal Maiden has picked up her ulti. A little surprising to see, but the tower's almost in deniable range. 7 HP, actually. So perfect time to stop there. They might be able to clean that up later. No deny coming for now. King J's about 500 gold away from his mechanism, so once he grabs that, we're going to see the teams equalize a bit.
Yeah. And I think Windrunner, if she is actually there, that fight could have gone a little bit better. The TP